Welcome to VSB News Online for Monday, December 8th. I'm Peter Kitzel. 29-year-old self-confessed gang leader Prince Barrington Edness, who walked free from a murder trial just 2 weeks ago, was shot to death last night at Sunnyside Park, Southampton, by two men on a motorcycle. And in the ensuing police manhunt, the fleeing assailants fired on and disabled a police jeep that located them near Waterlot, Southampton, leaving the male driver uninjured. Acting Assistant Police Commissioner James Howard and Acting Police Commissioner Paul Wright spoke at a police press conference about this latest act of gun violence.
At about 8:30 p.m., police and first responders attended a report of a firearm incident that took place outside a residence in South Avenue, Southampton. It appears that two men riding a motorcycle shot and killed 29-year-old Prince Barrington Edness of Pembroke. He died at the scene. The area in Southampton was cordoned off and an extensive and exhaustive search commenced for the two men, but this proved negative. A full investigation into this fatal shooting is ongoing, and a family liaison officer has been assigned to assist Mr. Edness' family at this difficult time. Officers understand that immediately prior to the shooting, the victim was involved in a possible verbal altercation with the assailants. Forensic crime scene examiners and detectives continue their examination of the evidence gathered from the scene. Investigators continue to appeal for witnesses or anyone with any information, particularly persons who live in the Sunnyside Park, Southampton area, who may have seen suspicious individuals, suspicious vehicles, or any other thing in that neighborhood around 8:30 p.m. last night. I ask that they contact the Serious Crime Unit at 247-1739 or the Independent and Confidential Crime Stoppers hotline at 800-8477. I would also like to thank the members of that community who came forward and assisted the police, who were very patient with us, and again, thank persons who have, again, sent me emails in relation to any information that they may have in relation to the incident that took place. Well, I can't say police were aware that his life's in danger. What I can say is that when you lead a certain lifestyle, and he's a self-confessed gang leader, that's what he said, then there are acts of violence that will take place. That's all I can say about that.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to ask for the assistance of our community in helping us to reduce gun violence in Bermuda. Gun violence presents a threat to public safety, not just against the police officers who are working so hard to tackle crime every day, but to us all. Last night, the police officer was fired upon and his police vehicle was actually disabled as it was struck by bullets. Thankfully, the officer was not injured, and he maintained the presence of mind to provide important information to other attending officers to coordinate a proper search for the suspects. He showed great courage and determination in everything that he did. He also showed great courage and determination in doing what he could do to help make Bermuda safer. I'm very proud of him, and I trust that all of you in our community share that pride. Policing is at times an inherently risky occupation, and we work very hard to equip and train our police officers to reduce and manage as much of that risk as we reasonably can. Thankfully, it's still a rare event for a police officer to be confronted by lethal force. But as a community, we all really must be resolute to bring to justice those few who present such a dramatic risk to us all. Gun crime does affect us all. Geographically, we're very close to it, and culturally, we're very close to it, as we know people who are either victims or even involved in it. There should be no place for gun crime in our community.
A young Bermudian lawyer was bailed in Magistrates Court today on charges of perverting the course of justice. VSB's Charles Webb was in the court and filed this report.
34-year-old Kamal Worrell, who proudly said during his calling to the bar in 2011 that he came from the back of town, was front and center in Magistrate's Court today when he appeared before Magistrate Temesi Tukumbo on 6 charges of perverting the course of justice during a trial in the Supreme Court. In the dock with him was Jamaican national 28-year-old Dujon Reed Anderson and 26-year-old Devon Huey. All 3 were granted bail in the sum of $10,000 each with like sureties, and Reed Anderson, who was required to wear an ankle bracelet. Both Worrell and Reed Anderson were also required to surrender their travel documents and report to the Hamilton and Somerset police stations. Huey, who is in custody on another matter, was not required to post bail or provide sureties. As Mr. Tukumbo suggested, he wasn't going anywhere. Perhaps lending to the gravity of the charges was the presence in court of a phalanx of senior police officers, detectives, lawyers, and members of the Department of Public Prosecutions. There are others not before the courts, but for those who were, Mr. Tukumbo set December 29th when they are to appear for mention. For VSB News, I'm Charles Webb.
One of the sponsors involved in the America's Cup is planning to acquire 80 automobiles while in Bermuda and hire their drivers from the local workforce. This, says Minister of Economic Development Dr. Grant Gibbons, is a good example of how the people of Bermuda will be able to benefit from the next 3 years of America's Cup involvement.
We've already started to look at how the BEDC, the Economic Development Corporation here, can start to offer some courses and seminars for entrepreneurs and small businesses who want to understand how the America's Cup will work and want to understand where they might be able to provide services and benefit from this as well. But it's pretty clear that the injection of that economic stimulus, both from teams and others and government in this economy, is going to spread right across the spectrum. A huge number of different sectors will be impacted, from construction to telecommunications, hospitality. I think it'll be a very good thing for everybody here.
I can see professional people here getting work with the group. What about the labourer, the manual labourer, the man in the street with low qualifications but great needs? What do we do about him?
Well, as I said, whether you're talking about transport, I think taxis will be working overtime. There's going to be quite a bit of construction work required, certainly up at Dockyard. We're going to need drivers to move people around. One of the sponsors is considering bringing in up to 80 vehicles. We'll need Bermudian drivers for those. So there's, in terms of services and hospitality issues, there are a lot of possibilities there as well. Security, I think it's really going to cover quite a broad spectrum of things. And then, of course, a lot of people who have apartments that they'd like to rent. We're going to have people moving in here, so some of those empty apartments will be snapped up pretty quickly by possibly teams, but also possibly by journalists and others that will want accommodation over a period of time. This is over a 3-year period, and so the spending and everything will be sustainable. And I think we want to make sure that what we end up with at the end of 3 years is sustainable, and then we can continue to use it, particularly up at Dockyard.
The Bermuda Sports Hall of Fame ceremony took place at the Fairmont Southampton last night after a gap of 5 years. And VSB Sports will be bringing the details of the 10 winners individually over the next week, 2 at a time. Tonight, we open by honoring Ruben Elias and Colin Blades.
On behalf of Mrs. Vera Elias, it is a great honor and a great pleasure to receive this award to honor the memory and work of Ruben C. Elias. I followed him, and he made my work much easier, and I think one will recognize, for the people in this room, will recognize that the modern era of football began with his title. Having said that, I will take this directly to Mrs. Elias' table and present it to her. She is in the room tonight, but see if he was somebody disposed and didn't want to come up here. Thank you.
I'm more nervous at this occasion than being patted up the face by Lance Parfit. So you bear with me.
Thomas, that?
The protocol has been established, and I just want to at first congratulate the other inductees, and I'm sure that you all have deserved your recognition. This occasion is allowing me to say thank you to the many fans that I have had. My wife, she's sitting at the table, and I have them sitting there with me. And I'll call them. There's Reggie Tucker, there's Lloyd Morrison, there's Charlotte Simons, Paulette Richardson, Mr. John Payne, Earl Hart, my battery mate, Reggie Tucker, and my daughter, Nicole. And if you permit me, I just want to mention a few people who would have been here to support me, but my son, he's in England. Then there's my late mother-in-law, and I'll give you a story about her. When I first came here, she was staunch blue and blue, the colors that don't match. There she was, and I would have to take her to cricket every cup match. I'm in my red, and my wife in her red, and my daughter and son, we were all red and blue. But she was blue and blue. Until one cup match, she came in her red and blue. I said, well, what happened? She said, well, a house cannot be divided against itself.
The Bermudian community can look forward to an unusual Christmas present this year from the local oil importing companies, a meaningful reduction in the price of gas at the pumps, and a decrease in Belco's fuel adjustment charge. The fall of $30 in the price of a barrel of crude over recent months might appear to be the cause of such good news. But in fact, the determination of the local price ranges is governed by other more complex factors. Bermuda's unique system calls for the Ministry of Finance and the oil importers to meet on the 10th of each month to examine the global data and the spot prices of the oil market. On the 15th, the Ministry of Finance announces its decision on what the monthly price range will be for gasoline and diesel, and this is made public. Gas stations take their lead and must be guided by the ceiling in price increases permitted by the ministry. To prove that the system works, the price of gasoline and the fuel adjustment charge have been falling steadily since June, when the oil prices overseas began to slump. Next weekend sees the 200th anniversary of the Bermuda estate called Parleville, now the home of Perrot's Post Office, the Bermuda National Library, the Bermuda Historical Society on Queen Street, and the next-door Queen Elizabeth Park. To celebrate the occasion, local tour guide Tim Rogers will impersonate William Bennett Perrott, longtime postmaster for Hamilton, and include the history of the estate and its occupants in his Hamilton walking tour at 11:30 a.m. on Tuesday and Thursday.
Well, I'm standing in front of my home because on Tuesday and Thursday I'm going to be William Bennett Perrott. What I've tried to do recently is to really paint pictures, take people back to a previous time. And so I'm going to be posing as William Bennett in 1860 and starting off with bringing guests into the museum, locals and visitors alike, and then taking them on an 1860 walk of my gardens and my post office and my town and all the good things that William Bennett did for Bermuda in his lifetime.
So you're somewhat of an estate owner in those days.
Absolutely, a 5-acre estate and 4 slaves that I owned, and my father living with us early on with 10 of his own. So, yeah, an influential man.
Andy Birmingham, president of the Historical Society, is proud to be part of the historic old house and is looking forward to Saturday's Christmas concert on the premises, starting at 11:30 p.m.
Except for the building across the road, this is the last grand house standing, and of course the wonderful Parleville Queen Elizabeth Park.
And the architecture is fantastic.
And the architecture is fantastic. Okay, it's been added to, but that doesn't diminish from the fact that the original flooring in this house, in the dining room and the living room, is from 1814. The beams are from that era, and long may it last.
And the garden too, still here.
The gardens too. It's interesting because we're standing on the perimeter of the city of Hamilton. The city of Hamilton actually ended where the waste bin is, and there is a little plaque in the wall saying that that was the boundary of the city. So it's all now city, taken up by another half a mile to our west.
So what time is the concert?
The concert starts at 11 with the Mount St Agnes Choir. Then at 12:30 is the traditional concert by Barrett Dill and the members of the North Village Band. That in itself is a classic. They date back to about 1865. Tremendous tradition.
And in sports, 10 people are inducted into the Bermuda Sports Hall of Fame. Records are broken in kata swimming championships, and national cross-country champions are crowned. These are just some of the stories in the latest sports with Earl Basden.
Last night at the Fairmont Southampton, the 2014 Hall of Fame saw 10 inducted on an emotional night for some. The 10 inducted were Ruben Elias, Colin Blades, Sean Gota, Brendan Ingerman, Granville Newsom, Dr. David Soul, Rupert Scotland, George Souza, Jerry Swan, and CV Jim Woolridge. Yesterday in Premier Division football action at St. John's Field, the North Village Rams took the lead against the Dandytown Hornets midway through the first half when Rakeem DeShields scored a header. Angelo Simmons had equalized for the Dandytown Hornets in the second half, but Jazarde Samuels would get the North Village Rams winner later in the half as they defeated the Dandytown Hornets 2-1. In other Premier Division action yesterday, it was PHC Zebras 4, Robin Hood 2, Hamilton Parish 0, Southampton Rangers 3. On Saturday night at the BAA Field, it was Flanagan's Onions 2, Somerset Trojans 0. In First Division play at Police Field yesterday, Crossroads put their heavy loss to Wolves in the back of their minds by recording a 1-0 victory over the Boulevard Blazers. Timon Daniels scored in the 71st minute to give the visitors the win. In other action in First Division yesterday was Island Rangers 1, Devonshire Colts 5, BAA 5, Paget Lions 1. Bermuda's San Chao Fighters, Real Bowen and St. Wally Woolridge both captured gold medals in Monterrey, Mexico during the first Pan American Senda Cup. Bowen defeated Cesar Zamberpa from Mexico in a gold medal match, while Woolridge got by Kareem Ascolo, also from Mexico. The Bermuda national bowling team began taking part in the World Bowling Championships in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. Bermuda's bowling team got off to a slow start in the singles event, with Damian Matthews having the highest finish out of the 273 bowlers from 52 countries participating. Matthews finished 62nd with a score of 1,261 pins and a 210.17 average. 6 races and 6 Bermuda records. No one would have expected or asked for more from Roy Allen Birch and Julian Fletcher as they concluded competing at the 12th FINA Short Course World Swimming Championships in Doha, Qatar. Meanwhile, the 2014 Bermuda Amateur Swimming Association's Mailbox Unlimited Winter Age Group Championships came to an end yesterday at the Bassa Pool. Madeline Moore clocked a personal best time of 4:44.57 on her way to winning the 13-14 girls 400-meter freestyle. Ashley Irby finished second, recording a time of 4:55.27, and Megan Lau finished third in a time of 5:11.71. In the boys 15 and over 400-meter freestyle, it saw Philip Hagan touch the wall first in a time of 4:26.97. Tyler Smith finished second with a personal best time of 4:40.48. On Saturday, the Bermuda National Athletics Association's National Cross Country Championships took place at the Arboretum, with some 100-plus runners taking to the course. Jay Donald won the men's Masters national title, crossing the line in a time of 21:53. Christopher Harris finished second with a time of 23:33, and Omari Hart rounded out the top three finishes in that division, clocking 24:59. In the men's open division, the national championship title went to Lamont Marshall, who clocked 34:03. Dorico Clark finished second with a time of 36:26, and Shane McWayne finished third in a time of 37:39. Dion Breary won the women's masters national title. She was clocked at 27:15. Audrey Darrell finished in second in a time of 37:48, and Jenny Kelly was third in a time of 40:39. Messiah Greaves was crowned the under-17 girls national champion after she crossed the line in a time of 27:19. Lindsay Palmer finished second in a time of 28:08, and Kwashi Douglas finished third in a time of 30:29. Meanwhile, Kevin Stevens and Rosanna Hoy ran to victory in the 2014 North Shore Medical Center Turkey Trot 10K yesterday, hosted by the Swans Running Club. Stevens clocked a time of 39 minutes flat, with Craig Rothwell finishing second in a time of 39:29. Hoy was third overall, clocking a time of 39:32. Ronnie Burgess rounded out the podium for the men when he finished fourth with a time of 40:08. Melissa Logie was the second female finisher and 17th overall with a time of 45:42, and Annie Kermode finished 21st overall and was the third female finisher in a time of 47:59. I'm Earl Baston reporting for VSB Sports.
Thanks for watching VSB News Online for Monday, December 8th. I'm Peter Kitzel.